Hello there, producer Ivan Katz here at the Van Zant house in Jacksonville, Florida. Ronnie, Donnie, and Johnny Van Zant lived here with their sisters and their parents between the mid-50s and the 1980s. And it's all part of the great Lynyrd Skynyrd history here in Jacksonville. I'm going to show you every detail of that. We'll go to a lot of stops and it'll be quite interesting. So smash that like button and subscribe. If you like the content, buy me a coffee. But here we are at the Van Zant house in Jacksonville, Florida. And apparently, I think it might be an Airbnb. You might even be able to stay the night. But yeah, this is it. And there's a kitty cat. Hey, kitty cat. But yeah, this is the house that they lived in before and during the time that they became famous, really. Here is the official sign that they had put up, and now they have security. They don't want the sign to get stolen or anything. But this is the general lay of the land, just so you can see. The main street is over there. And then it's just a quiet little neighborhood, really. But this is the official sign, and this is what it says, actually. Musicians Ronnie, Donnie, and Johnny Van Zant spent their formative years growing up in this house with their sisters and parents between 1950s and 1980s. A serendipitous foul ball hit by Ronnie Van Zant at a nearby park struck future bandmate Bob Burns in the head, knocking him unconscious. This chance encounter led to what would become one of the most famous, hardest working rock bands in the world, Lynyrd Skynyrd. Gold and platinum records for the millions of album sales adorn the walls of this house while the band toured worldwide. Tragedy cut short the original incarnation of Lynyrd Skynyrd when 4 members of the band, including lead singer Ronnie Van Zant, died in a plane crash in Mississippi on October 20th, 1977, after their tour plane ran out of fuel. The surviving members of the band and crew were seriously injured. 10 years later, Johnny Van Zant took over as lead singer and Lynyrd Skynyrd was reborn. Donnie Van Zant was a founding member and lead singer of the rock band 38 Special, a highly successful band in its own right. The Van Zant's legacy, memorialized in this house, commemorate their prodigious contribution to the world of rock music. A Florida heritage site sponsored by Blue Horizon Property Solutions, LLC, and the Florida Department of State. Now, this house actually started as a 2-bedroom shack, from what I was told. And, well, their dad actually built it up into what you see here. And I'm thinking, from the way it looks, I think the room down there is an Airbnb room, and maybe even that one, too. So I think you can stay at this house. You'll have to check Airbnb or Vrbo. But a lot of history here, obviously. Now, the Ballad of Curtis Lowe was inspired by a place up the street called Claude's Country Store. And, well, Ronnie Van Zant would walk up the street after collecting bottles. He'd wake up very early and, well, I'll continue the story at the actual spot. Well, this famous country store is famous for one reason. It used to be called Claude's. Now it's called the Sunrise Food Store. The Ballad of Curtis Lowe by Lynyrd Skynyrd. He used to walk down the street from his house, wake up early in the morning, and collect bottles to trade in here at this store. And I don't know if it's true that Curtis Lowe was the proprietor or the guy who ran the place, but was he a really gifted blues guitar player? I'm not sure. But that's how the song goes. And, well, it's a very, very cool story about Ronnie Van Zant and how he used to walk up the street from his house and come to this store to trade in those bottles, to get some money, to hear this man play, pay him a little bit. And his mom told him not to do it, but he still did it. And he swore that he was the best blues guitar player in the world. So there you go. The Claude Country Store, now Sunrise Food Store, famous in Lynyrd Skynyrd lore. Have you smashed that like button and subscribed yet? I sure hope you have. Beautiful day here in Jacksonville. This is the setting, and this is the store. Here at the Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd is where actually Lynyrd Skynyrd and 38 Special, along with Van Zant's earlier band, played. And it's kind of wild that a church let them play here, but look at this quiet, beautiful street. Really nice. It's on the corner of Forbes and Stockton here in Jacksonville, Florida, but just really nice. And it would have been kind of interesting that a church let a rock band play, but you know, you do hear stories like that from the 70s. Actually, the Beatles, if you look at my Beatles in London and Liverpool video, well, the Beatles actually played right across the street from a church, kind of inside of a church parish, sort of. So maybe it's more common than you think. By the way, in that video, I see a real Beatle, so it's worth watching. But yeah, this would have been where Lynyrd Skynyrd at an early stage, and also, of course, 38 Special would have played back in the day. I guess that would have been the early 70s. Well, Gary Rossington, Alan Collins, and Ronnie Van Zant all went to high school here at, what? Riverside High School. Actually, it was Robert E. Lee High School when they went, but a lot of names have been changed, of course, recently. This was Robert E. Lee High School when they went there, and even has a pool over there. Look at that. Isn't that cool? But anyway, as legend goes, and I heard it straight from the horse's mouth in an interview, this was where their gym teacher used to give them a problem. Their gym teacher was definitely a rules guy. He was in the military and was a war veteran, and he didn't like the fact that the boys had long hair. So they would, sometimes they'd comb it up and kind of make it look shorter, but sometimes they wouldn't, and he just was always on them, and he wanted them to cut their hair. So, you know, he had them kicked out of school a few times, actually. Sent home, certainly, to get a haircut, and not returned until such time as they got a haircut. So, that's the way things were back in the day. I actually was told to cut my hair or leave a certain well-known restaurant. And I actually left the restaurant and went to wait tables somewhere else, because I wasn't prepared to cut my hair at that point in my life. Just like these boys here. Anyway, that teacher, of course, was Lynyrd Skynyrd. And they had many names before, and 1% and things like that, and they would get teased. And you know, they said you have 1% talent and things like that. So finally they said, why don't we just name ourselves after the gym teacher? And they changed the spelling, of course, and that is really the rest of the story. They took the name Lynyrd Skynyrd, and hilariously, he actually, well, he sort of introduced them at their concert at the Coliseum here in Jacksonville. They were given the key to the city by the mayor, and so the mayor then introduced them. And then Lynyrd Skynyrd came on, and he said, I'm the real Lynyrd Skynyrd. And then the band came on. So that's the real story of what happened there. I think it was 1979. It's kind of a triumphant comeback, and he learned to like the fact that that is Lynyrd Skynyrd. Lynyrd Skynyrd, Lynyrd Skynyrd. He learned to like the fact that he was named after the band, but at first he didn't like it. And he later used it as marketing for his real estate firm, and he also had other businesses as well. But yes, this is what was then Robert E. Lee High School, and this is where the Lynyrd Skynyrd band went to school and got their name. Isn't that cool? I think so. Similar school in Alexandria called George Washington High School. Now it's a middle school. That's where Jim Morrison went, and I have a full story on Jim Morrison's life in Alexandria that I hope you will watch. Just search Ivan Katz and Jim Morrison, and I actually have lots of videos. His life and death in Paris too, and where he wrote People Are Strange and Love Street. Well, here I am at the Jug. That's right, the same place where Give Me 3 Steps is written. I was cutting the rug down at a place called Jug. He came in with a fake ID, and yeah, fake ID, and He was, I don't know, I said he was 18. I guess, I'm not sure if the drinking age would have been, some places were grandfathered in at 18, but I guess it was 21 here maybe at that time. But that's the story I got, is he had a fake ID, came in, and well, what happened was he was kind of making moves or dancing with a girl named Linda Lou, and Linda Lou's man, I don't know if it was the husband or what, showed up, and he apparently had a gun. He was reaching for it or something, and apparently he was looking for a distraction, and he just wanted 3 steps to escape. So that's what happened. He said, give me 3 steps. Give me 3 steps, mister, towards the door. I guess it would have been that door. And that is the interesting story of the Jug Saloon here in Jacksonville, Florida. And this is what it looks like today. Pretty cool, huh? They're just all hanging out back there. But yeah, this is the Jug in Jacksonville, Florida. And all part of the cool and interesting Lynyrd Skynyrd story here in Jacksonville, Florida. Well, this is the Hartage Giddens Riverside Funeral Home and Memorial Gardens. And, well, you might think that Van Zandt was buried here, Ronnie Van Zandt, that is. But actually, after much research, I know that he was actually buried somewhere else, and then his body moved. So I'm going to try to walk you through that complicated story. But this obviously is a memorial to him, and he is buried now close by. So try to get to the bottom of it for you and walk you over there. But this is the lay of the land. Yes, this is a Ronnie Van Zandt memorial right here down by this little man-made pond. But before I leave, there's a poem written by Charlie Daniels, and it's actually inscribed on this bench here, which is of course right next to Ronnie Van Zandt's grave, and it was a tribute to him about kind of travel and his short life on the road, and kind of the rock and roll lifestyle. And it reads, "A brief candle, both ends burning, an endless mile, a bus wheel turning, a friend to share a lonesome time, a handshake and a sip of wine. Say it loud and let it ring, that we're all part of everything. The future, present, and the past. Fly on, proud bird, you're free at last." It says C. Daniels. Of course, that is Charlie Daniels. So how do you like that? Well, after a series of events, Ronnie Van Zandt's body was moved here because at his last place of burial, it was actually disturbed, and well, the family wanted a safer place. So even though his memorial is down there by the water, and some of his family is buried here, as you can see, apparently the real place, according to insiders that know the real deal, his body is actually buried underneath this stone right here, and underneath a lot of concrete and protective things to make sure that nobody disturbs his grave again. So there you go. That is supposedly the real location of Ronnie Van Zandt's grave, along with other family members. So Gary Robert Rosington, who was buried kind of across the way from the Van Zandts over here, and again supposedly Ronnie Van Zandt, he played lead guitar on Tuesday's Gone and also slide guitar on Freebird, apparently. So that's pretty cool. He got his famous 59 Les Paul that you see him pictured with there, called Bernice, from a lady whose man left him and apparently left the guitar. He was married to Dale Krantz, and so he is buried here. His wife, Dale Krantz, is still alive. And there you go. More interesting history of the Lynyrd Skynyrd band. He was very famous for playing that Les Paul and other Gibson guitars like the SG as well. If you want to see me review some of those guitars, just search Ivan Katz Guitar Reviews and Les Paul, or really any other type of guitar. And by the way, most interestingly about Billy Powell here, and also Gary Robert Rossington, they both survived that fateful plane crash on October 20th, 1977. So there you go, that's very interesting. Billy Powell, of course, was the keyboard player for Lynyrd Skynyrd, but he was originally a roadie, and they were really, really impressed with his piano skills. And the way he played the intro, came up with the intro to Freebird, and so he was asked to join the band. How about that? And here is his grave, June 5th, 1952 to January 25th, 2009. And there you go. Interesting history here at the Hardage Giddens Memorial Gardens here in Jacksonville, Florida. I hope you've enjoyed this video about Lynyrd Skynyrd here in Jacksonville, the band who really started Southern rock, and just a legendary band, of course. I hope you'll watch my other rock and roll stories: Jim Morrison's Life and Death in Paris, Jimi Hendrix's Life and Death and Lady Friends in London, and also U2 in Dublin. And also U2 in Dublin, Banksy's Art in Bristol, the Tom Schultz House in Boston, that's a good one. I also show you where Jim Morrison wrote People Are Strange in Love Street in Los Angeles. I tell you all about his life in Alexandria, Virginia, Andy Warhol's life in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I do a lot of guitar reviews, and of course my DrivinIvan car videos, just search DrivinIvan in any car. I also like to play all the instruments on songs like Purple Haze, Stairway to Heaven, Hotel California, Maggie May, what else? Squeeze, Another Nail for My Heart, a bunch of REM songs, Laughing, Losing My Religion. I play mandolin on that one too. And also, of course, on Maggie May. And what other songs? Southern Central Rain, Driver 8. And I have a channel, INK video, on YouTube, where I just play solo acoustic songs. I have hundreds of songs there, anything from Nick Drake to Morrison, Smiths, and maybe I should do a Lynyrd Skynyrd song. What do you think? I probably should. But yes, Ink Video also on TikTok, where I tell music stories like this. And I'm also the real DrivinIvan on TikTok. And so I hope you'll watch those as well. Watch my original music videos, Free Your Mind, and I'll Never Tell. What else? Taken, You and Me, Past Relations, What Would I Say, just to name a few. I play all the instruments on those, and those are full music videos. Also, Every Day on the Beach is a good one. That's one of my more recent ones. Thank you so much for watching Lynyrd Skynyrd in Jacksonville, Florida. I am producer Ivan Katz, aka DrivinIvan.